Hi, I'm Sid Part 2, and I just wanted to do a quick little rant thought video. So, Rogue One just came out last Friday. I saw it, really enjoyed it, much more than I thought I would, given that as far as being a Star Wars fan goes, I'm much more into the Jedi, the Sith, all the stuff with the Force than I am with their particular space battles and all that cool stuff. Still like that kind of thing. It's just that's not what attracts me to the franchise. But no, I was thoroughly impressed with how much I was able to enjoy Rogue One. That being said, I like the stuff with Darth Vader the most. Um, but it did bring up a thought that I've been having lately, um, and it's just related to how they're casting certain roles in the new Star Wars franchise. And I don't want this to sound like I'm one of those fools who gets mad at the new Star Wars movies for white genocide or whatever the crap that means. No, I'm fully supportive of more diverse casting in Star Wars. I really, really like that. Where I don't care for diversity of casting is in the roles of Imperials. And Force Awakens had this, and now Rogue One has this. So we have the character of Finn in Force Awakens, who ultimately, like, initially I was kind of knee-jerk. I don't like that a black guy's playing a stormtrooper. Initially I was against that. The explanation we got in the film I was quite satisfied with, that they took him as a child and indoctrinated him to fight and die for the return of the Empire and all that stuff. That explanation for his character's background perfectly worked for me. But in Rogue One, we have the character of Bodhi Rook, who's the defector, the pilot that defects and sets in motion everything that helps the rebels find out about the Death Star and everything that happens in the movie. Now, the actor that's playing him, his name escapes me at the moment, but I did look this up. He's actually Pakistani, and he does a good job, good enough job. I mean, it's not my favorite character in the movie or anything, but he does a reasonably good job. My problem is just, I don't think that we should be casting people of color, people such as myself, in roles in which they are part of an allegory for Nazism. The Empire, it's not subtle in any of the movies, particularly in Force Awakens, but the Empire is meant to be Nazis, are meant to be fascists. Um, so to see people of color put in those kinds of roles is very weird to me. Now, there are a couple different arguments out there I've heard. I've got my phone here for notes. The one that I hear a lot of people say right away is, well, the Empire is discriminatory to everyone that's not human. They have to be human, and so it's not just white supremacy; it's human supremacy. No, doesn't fly. Don't leave that argument in the comments. Doesn't fly with me. The Empire are Nazis, flat out. So casting someone that the Nazis would have made it their mission to execute in the role of a Nazi feels very weird. That being said, I got some replies to this, and the best argument that I heard for it, and it's true, there were, as strange as this is, there were people of color who supported the Nazis or supported fascism in both the era of World War II and still today. And so when we look at the character of Bodhi Rook, he's a very low-level military member, armed service, whatever, you know what I mean. He's very low-ranking in the military, but if you look at everyone above him, all of them are white. So it's this idea of normalizing oppression, normalizing being a second-class citizen. And while that is a compelling argument, I still don't think it quite works, because he doesn't acknowledge that at all. Like, you can make the argument that the visual is enough to acknowledge it, and I understand that. But I feel like if that's the argument that or if that's the vision of Nazism they were trying to present, specifically by casting a person of color in the role of an Imperial. Again, I think it works with Finn, I don't think it works here. If that's the idea of being set at a certain point, you're never allowed to rise higher, kind of thing. I don't think it works for a couple reasons. The main one being that he never brings it up. We get just a little bit of Body Rook's whatever, motivation to defect from the Empire, and most of it comes down to just the horror of what they're doing with the Death Star, and Galen Erso telling him that he has the opportunity to be brave, to be a hero. Good motivations for his character. His motivations work just as well if it is a white character defecting. There were Nazis that defected. There were Nazis that, or there were people who were officially Nazis that did tremendous things to save lives during the Nazi rule. So, like, there's plenty of historical sources to pull from for that perspective. The other reason I don't think that argument quite works is because it requires too much background in the nuances and the particulars of the Nazi rule in Germany for just a visual to unpack it enough. I feel like if that's what the message they were going for, again, I feel like it needs to be unpacked directly in the moment, because I feel like that's kind of what happened with Finn. We get an explanation for why Finn is a stormtrooper, and part of it's the racial thing. Part of it is he never had a choice. He was taken from his family. As far as we know, Bodhi Rook signed up with the Empire because he believed in it, and then was maybe disillusioned with that or something. I don't know, but they never go into what made him believe in the Empire in the first place from his perspective, from his point of view. What I would want, really, is a scene where he explains, I know what the Empire stands for, and for a time I believed in it, even if that meant less for me as a, whatever, as a person of color, whatever. Even if that meant less for me as a person of color because it meant the safety of all, or whatever. That could have been his motivation for joining the Imperial Army. As is, it's not explained why he joined the Empire, and the final nail in the coffin for me for this idea of they do enough with it just visually. If that's the case, why did he betray the Empire? If the idea is that he is a person subjugated by fascism into accepting his role as a second-class citizen in a fascist society, fascist Nazi society, why then does he betray the Empire if he's accepted the role? If the commentary is to be that fascism normalizes second-class citizenry and worse, then why does then his actions in the story, his most important action in the story, betraying the Empire, leaking the plans about the Death Star, or helping to leak the plans about the Death Star, contradicts that. So yeah, I feel like that's a role that should have been played by a white person, because it's less messy there. And again, there were Nazis that used their status, their power in Germany to save lives. Most famous one being Schindler. So if they'd gone something like that, where he was a diehard Imperial until he saw what was going on, and that's enough. You don't need the normalized second class citizenry. At least not from that character. At least not from the character that we're shown in the movie. I think you take the character of Bodhi Rook that is shown in Rogue One, and you change out the actor. I think nothing changes. I think the story is exactly the same, because I do not find the commentary given of a low-ranking soldier being under the orders of nothing but white guys. I don't think that's enough to that's enough of just an apparent visual to communicate the need for him to be a person of color, for this, as far as the story is concerned. I feel like there was a needed explanation of his reasons for joining the Empire, and from what I understand, there's a lot of footage cut and shot and cut in different versions of the script. Maybe there was at one point a scene like the scene I'm talking about, but as far as trying to communicate all of that just visually, that's too big a chunk for too distracting an element to do that with, in my opinion. So that's why I have problems with that particular casting. Again, with Finn, it worked, but importantly with Finn, we got an explanation for why he's a member of the, or why he was a member of the Empire, or First Order. Yeah, that's all I got. Please leave your comments down below. I'm curious to hear what you think. Thanks for watching.